What's going on, everybody? The original Mako back with some more Gunfire Reborn content, and today another tier list video for you. It has been a while since I've done a scroll tier list, and I only did it once a while ago. I was a naive young one back then, and now I have matured and grown to realize some of my mistakes from the previous one. So we're going to be going fresh. This is going to be a long video. There's a lot of scrolls in the game, but I'm ready to dive into it, and hopefully you guys are too. I've said this before, I'll keep saying it until it happens, but I am getting that higher pitch noise fixed. The ground noise loop diffuser should be here soon-ish, within the next couple of weeks. So once we have that, it should eliminate most of those issues, if not all of them, and it should be all fixed. So I'm working on it, we'll get it fixed. But in the meantime, check the links in the description as always if you want to see me do runs live. We are trying to get to partner. I mean, we're hovering around the 60-ish mark for average viewers, or for, recently, that is. So I'd really appreciate your support and help over there if you could. Even just lurking helps more than you guys could possibly know, so that'd be pretty cool. And then second channel, there's a Pokemon Shining Pearl Nuzlocke going on over there, and the clips channel if you want to see some cooler funny clips that get uploaded somewhat recently, hopefully more recently soon. But yeah, check all that stuff out. That being said, let's go ahead and not waste any more time. This is already going to be a long enough video. Why is that playing right now? Are they messing with the overlays right now? My mods? Are we serious? My mods are messing with the overlay while I'm trying to record. That's unbelievable. Well, hopefully that doesn't happen again. If it does, we'll have to go to a different view, but that's fine. So, here are all of these scrolls in the game. I'm going to try to keep my reasoning to a minimum, because this is already going to be a long video. But I've got the wiki pulled up if I need exact descriptions. And I'll try to read out the exact description for each one every time, so we can get like a good, a perfect description of what it is. That being said, let's start with abnormal speed. Plus 3% movement speed for every 10% shield or armor that you currently have. S tier. Movement speed, especially in Reincarnation 8, is one of the most useful things in the game. This is one of the better movement speed scrolls. Doesn't require you to do anything to activate it. Just have shield, and there you go. Obviously, the less shield you have, the less movement speed you have, but unless you have zero shield, it's a positive, and you're going to have shield a lot of the time. So I think this is well worth it, and an S tier scroll that you should be taking every single time no matter what, because there's no reason not to have it. So S tier for abnormal speed. Next up, we have, I believe that is Resolute. Survey says it is Abundant Vitality. I was close. Resolute's the other one with a sword in it. Plus 75% weapon damage while your shield is recharging. I'll put it in B. 75% weapon damage is a good chunk. And most characters, especially on like higher levels, you're going to have some of your shield missing a decent bit. And while it's recharging, why not do some more damage? There's no negatives, there's no downsides to it. Obviously on the bird, kind of an issue because you don't have any shield. So, but on all the other characters, I think it's a B scroll. It's something you're going to want to be hanging on to most of the time, and it affects the run a good bit. So I think it's very pog. Next up, we have Advanced Depot. I don't even need to go to the wiki page for this one. You lose 15% weapon damage, but you pull ammo straight from your reserves. S tier. I mean, there are very few cases where this doesn't result in more DPS for every single weapon, because you don't have to spend time reloading. Obviously, it breaks the game with the Demon Lore. It becomes the best two-thing combo in the entirety of the game. This makes the Demon Lore an S tier weapon. Like, it's so good. It's such a good scroll, and it has to be an S tier. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Once again, there are very few scenarios where this just is not the option, unless you're trying to, if you're really trying to, I guess, enhanced tactical reload, maybe. There's a good example of that in my video yesterday, where once I stopped reloading, my run kind of went downhill. So there's a few cases, but more often than not, you're going to want to be taking this almost every time. Next up, Advanced Joggers. Minus 50% dash cooldown. I think it's A tier. It's good for movement speed, obviously. But, like, I don't think it affects the game as much as the stuff that I'm going to be putting into S tier. So, I have a bad habit of biting my nails. I need to stop. So, I think it's A tier. It's a great scroll. There's no reason you would ever not want to take this. But if you, like, have a chest that has 3 options and you have 2 options from S tier and then these, like, you just got to think about the situation more. And I think these affect the game a lot less than stuff I'll put in S. But a 50% cooldown is really nice, and definitely helps out a lot. So, pretty good scroll. Against the Flow. Now, let me read this to make sure I get this exactly correct. Against the... Oh, wait, it's not in alphabetical order. What the fuck? Hitting an enemy will apply the effect for 4 seconds, and it'll refill 15% of your magazine every second. When the effect ends, you instead lose one random type ammo from reserves every second. This is a fantastic scroll for recovering ammo. In some ways, it's better than Advanced Depot because of the fact that you are getting your ammo back. You're not just losing ammo. With Advanced Depot, you're still losing the ammo, but with Against the Flow, you're getting that ammo back. The reason I'm going to put it in A tier is because I don't think I can put it on the same level as Advanced Depot, because they kind of do the very similar, affect the run in very similar ways. For me, this is my tier list. For my opinion, I prefer Advanced Depot because it doesn't require me to, like if I'm doing a Demon Lore run, and I don't have enough ammo in the mag. With Against the Flow, I could still run out of ammo and accidentally reload. With Advanced Depot, I don't even have to worry about it. It just everything just kind of happens on its own. It's one less thing I have to worry about. Plus, Advanced Depot works very well for, like, every type of weapon. Against the Flow on, like, a mortar, for example, a Tiger Cannon, it's not going to be nearly as effective as something like Advanced Depot. So I think Advanced Depot is the better version, but Against the Flow is still a fantastic scroll. Okay, next we are going to go on to Airbag, which is a legendary, and it is minus 2% current health per second when the shield or armor is full, and recover 100% of your health when shield and armor gets broken. Now, last time I did this scroll tier list, it's been a while, but I put this bad boy in, like, F tier, not realizing the potential that it has. So it has to work with other stuff to make it, like, really good. Persistent and Berserk Soul, which are essentially, we'll get to those later. But Airbag on its own doesn't hurt anything. It actually makes you play better, in my opinion, because when you get to low health, the the screen will start flashing red to let you know, hey, you're about to die, bozo. But with Airbag, as soon as that shield breaks, your health restores. So you'll be flashing red, but you still kind of have a safety net of your whole health bar getting restored, even if your shield breaks. So it kind of makes you play like, oh shit, I have to be on edge, I have to make sure I'm not getting hit because I'm low health, but really you still have that safety net. Not to mention its combo with Persistent and Berserk Soul is really, really good as well. So this is one that I think is very good. I don't think there's ever a reason not to take it, but it's the same reason, like, it doesn't affect the game as much as the stuff above it. So that's why it's going to go in B. It has very little combo synergy, but the synergy that it does have is good. Next up, we have Ammo Belt, which is plus 150% ammo capacity. Survey says... Survey... Oh, ammo capacity doubled. Oh, 150 is the enhanced version. Okay, so double ammo capacity. I'm going to put this in C tier. It's good. It's nice to have double ammo capacity. It means you're a lot less likely to run out of ammo. But there are very few times in a run where, unless I'm doing, like, a mortar run, which I've been doing a lot more recently, so I guess I've been saying this more recently, but there are very few times in a normal run where I'm like, okay, I need, you know, ammo belt would be just the perfect scroll right here. It's nice, it's convenient, but it's not necessary. Like, it's not the center point for a lot of synergies. You're not going to be building around ammo belt, that's for sure. So as far as like ammo scrolls go, I think it's really good, but it's not like the make or break your run if you're going to have ammo belt or not. Some runs it is, but that's why it's in C tier. But most runs, it's not a huge deal if you have it or not. Next up, we have ammo recover, which is something. Get one random ammo for every 1 meter traveled. I'm gonna put this in C tier as well. It's another good ammo scroll, not like insane, but it'll help you get your ammo back. You're gonna be getting a lot of random ammo every time you move 1 meter, which is fairly often, to say the least. So I think it's good. I think it's worth taking a lot of the time, especially if you're struggling with ammo. But once again, it's kind of the same thing as the ammo belt. Next up, we have arms dealer, which is... That's unbelievable that I had to go down for that. Wait, hello? Is arms... That's a purple scroll, right? Am I losing my mind? Oh, here it is. Minus 20% damage taken and plus 30% damage dealt for 10 seconds whenever you consume 100 ammo. So damage reduction and increased damage dealt for 10 seconds whenever you consume 100 ammo. I'll put it in B tier. I'll put it in C tier. I'll put it in B tier. Oh, I'm going to put it in C tier. The only reason I'm going to put this in C tier, once again, this is my tier list, so it's my opinion. I very much like explosive builds, explosive runs, and almost all explosive weapons are not going to be consuming 100 ammo very often to make this worth being higher. Now, if you're using an angelic aura, you're using a scalpel, you're using any sort of fast-firing weapon, the gloves, this is going to be really, really good. Probably like an A tier scroll. But when you're using like explosive stuff, it's probably D or like it's just pointless to have. So since I do so many explosive runs and I used to do a lot of like high damage runs with concealed ammo. The tiger, but not anymore. So this just isn't something that I'm taking very often, but it can be an A tier scroll. Don't get me wrong. Okay, now you're already yelling in the comments, I know, but don't get me wrong. It's where I'm putting it. Next up, we have a new one that I don't know the name of off the top of my head, so let's try to find it. Survey says it must be a common. Wait. Hello? This has the new scrolls on it. I know it does. I'm probably going too fast and skipping over it. I guess we'll wait. Is that a? Oh, it's a curse scroll. Okay, okay. I need to get all those out of here because I mean, curse scrolls obviously are just like they're gonna go into F tier. That's I thought it was a new scroll. I guess it was a curse scroll. I guess that's why I didn't know what it was. All right, there's more, but if there's any more, we'll get to them when we see it. So, yeah, I mean, those are just obviously. Anyway, backup shield is next, which is, I believe it's recover 40% shield or armor instantly when the shield or armor is broken and you have a cooldown of 10 seconds. It's a good defensive scroll. I mean, it's just a very, very good scroll to have in general for keeping you alive. It's not the best in the world, but it's good at what it does, and can help keep that shield up. Works really well with a lot of other scrolls too, like obviously abnormal speed. You're losing shield, you're losing movement speed. Pop. This thing restores a bit of your shield, you get a little more movement speed. It just works pretty well and is pretty poppin' overall. Next up, one of the airbag combos here. I believe this one is Berserk Soul, sorry. Which is, I skipped it again. Okay, what? Plus 0.5% lucky shot for each 1% health missing. C tier. If it's paired with airbag, it's obviously really, really, really good. If it's not paired with airbag, it's probably D tier. So I'll put it a little bit in the middle here because it's okay to take on your runs, even without airbag. Like, you're probably gonna be missing health for part of the run, but not super often. So it's not, and 0.5% for each 1% health. Like, you have to be really low on health to get a lot of value out of it. So it's just not, it's just not great. It's just not great. So C tier for that. Next is Blazing Hoop. Every 10 seconds, right? Yeah, every 10 seconds you release a flame pulse that deals 200 fire damage, inflicts the burning effect for 3 seconds on all enemies it passes through. S tier. The elemental rings are going to be S tier. I mean, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I might as well just grab all 3 of those and smack them into S tier right now. Same reasoning for all 3. Doing elemental damage when you either don't have elemental damage or you are maybe not proccing elemental damage as often as you'd like, or even if you are proccing it as often as you like, extra elemental effects are not ever gonna hurt anything. They're gonna be so good. They're good for proccing elemental, fusion effects, which are insane. Elemental damage is some of the best synergy and whatnot in the entirety of the game. So having extra things that are guaranteed to proc elemental damage is just, it's amazing. It's fantastic. Something you're almost always going to want to have. Next up, is this bloody ammo? I think this is bloody ammo, right? Survey says I'm about to find out. It is bloody ammo. So you can hold the fire button to continue shooting even though the magazine of the automatic weapon is empty. But you will take damage, 1% of your current total health, from each shot you fire. I'm going to put this in D tier. This is my opinion. I don't ever use it. I don't ever feel like using it. Even if I have like a demon lore or something. Like, there's just, I don't like the way this makes you play, in my opinion. I just think it's a scroll that I've never taken. Like, I took it to try it when it first dropped, you know. But I've never taken it. Like, I don't ever take this scroll. It's just not for me, not my play style. I don't like it. Taking damage to, like, just give me let me find Against the Flow or Advanced Depot. Hopefully I can find one of those and we'll be okay. Next up we have Buff, which is plus 25% damage dealt when your health is full. Let me make sure I got the number right. Yeah, it is. This is going to be C tier. Health being full is if I had to do numbers, I'd say like 50-50. Obviously, the higher up in reincarnation you go, the worse this gets because you're going to be losing health more often. If you have paranormality, this becomes a instant just 25% permanent damage buff pretty much. And unless you die, so yes, a permanent 25%. So it's really, really good with paranormality. Outside of that, it's okay. It's something I take pretty often because you are going to get value out of it, but you're not going to get like a fuck ton of value. Which that's the only reason it's in C. Like, it just doesn't affect the game as much as this stuff. So next up, Brief Respite. Now, sue me, I'm going to put this in D only because, okay, wait, I should probably explain what Brief Respite is. I believe it's gain immunity to all damage for 1 second after swapping or reloading weapons, and then it has a cooldown of 2 seconds. So this just doesn't work well with how I play. I usually find one weapon and I stick with it. I'm very, very rarely swapping weapons. And if I have brief respite, it almost never clicks in my head like, hey, bozo, you're about to take damage, swap weapons real quick. I almost never remember to do that. So for me, I get very little use out of this, and especially very little intentional use out of this. Any use that I do get out of this is almost always accidental, and for me, it's just not a scroll that I look forward to seeing very often. Some people yell at me all you want. I know. Just not for me. So brief respite is going in D. Next up, brutal gloves, plus 35% weapon and skill damage when you're not hitting a crit. A tier, there's no downside. 35% is huge. If you're doing a fully skill damage run, there's not much better than just a permanent 35% buff. Very few, like you're almost never going to be critting all the time, constantly. So an extra 35% damage when you don't crit is fantastic. It's great. It's a great, fantastic weapon or fantastic scroll, and I think deserves A tier easily. Next up, Bullet Bank. All picked up ammo will automatically convert to the current equipped weapons type. This is going to go B tier, because as far as ammo scrolls go, I think Bullet Bank's the best one. This instantaneously solves all of your ammo issues that you could possibly have with a weapon. If you're using a heavy weapon, you get Bullet Bank, you're never going to run out of ammo. If you're using a Demon Lore, you have Bullet Bank, you're never going to run out of ammo. As long as you have that weapon equipped and you're just picking up all the ammo, you're fine. Enemies drop enough ammo to give you enough ammo. Like, if everything is converting to the type of ammo you need, you're perfectly fine. This just solves all of your issues instantly. Next up, we have Bullet Light, and this one is going to go in C for me. It's a dangerous one. It's, what are the exact numbers here? It is... Each shot will consume 1 additional spare ammo, and plus 25% lucky shot chance. Recover consumed spare ammo when triggering a lucky shot. Obviously, if you have a lot of lucky shot synergy going, this is a great scroll. Take it. There's no reason not to take it. You're going to be getting your ammo back. But if this is earlier in the run and you're trying to get something going and you don't have a ton of lucky shot yet, the lucky shot bonus is nice, but this can absolutely hork your ammo. Just send it into oblivion, into another realm. Can this scroll? Like, it's insane how easily it can melt your ammo. So for me, it's going to go in C. Once again, if you have a lot of lucky shot going, it's good, but if not, C tier. How did I end up at the bottom of the... Oh my god, we have so many scrolls to go. This is actually ridiculous. Okay, next up we have Capacity Overdraft. I believe, which is bloody ammo, but for secondary skills. It's going to go to the same spot for the exact same reason as bloody ammo. Next up, we have Casual Gunmanship, plus 20% lucky shot chance, but minus 20% weapon damage when you are not doing a lucky shot. Yeah, if I can remember these off of memory now, I'm just going to start ranting these off because we have so many to go through. That's going to go B tier. I believe it is... I think somebody did the math, and it's almost guaranteed to be a DPS increase. The damage you get from your lucky shot procs is going to end up outweighing the damage you lose from the minus 20%. So B tier, no reason not to take it, but it's not going to really swing your run to new heights, or it's going to tank you down. So I'll put it in C tier because of that, actually. No, I'll put it in B tier. It'll go B tier. Next up, we have Coin Shot, which I have to read because it's new. Plus 30% lucky shot chance by consuming 2 copper when you land a shot. Copper spent will be refunded if you successfully trigger a lucky shot. So it's like a bullet light, except it consumes copper instead of ammo. I'm gonna put it in C tier. Same reason as bullet light. Like, it's okay. It can work well. It can chew through your copper very easily if you're not careful. But if you already have a good lucky shot build going, this could definitely be a good addition to said lucky shot build. Copper Miner. All enemies within 7 meters will drop double the copper. C tier, it's okay. It'll get you some extra copper. If you're doing like a face In their face build, obviously, you're going to want this. It's going to be like B or A tier. But if you're doing like a tiger build and you're sniping from far away, you're going to get like no use out of it. It's okay. It's average. We're going to put it into C tier. Next up, we have Corrosion Enthusiast, which is... Oh, I accidentally scroll locked myself here. Whenever you inflict the decay effect to enemies, you inflict it to yourself, which gives you movement speed minus 50%. But when you are in decay, you have 20% damage reduction, and you get 40% movement speed, so it's technically only a 10% movement speed decrease. And you also take 20% less damage. I'm not a big fan of Corrosion Enthusiast. I hate slower movement. Movement speed is very top priority for me. So even if it's just 10%, I'd prefer not to have it happen. Now, if I'm not doing corrosion damage at all, then this is fine because it just helps deal with corrosion that happens to you from enemies or barrels or whatever. But if you're inflicting any type of corrosion damage at all, this is just going to, in my opinion, hurt you because the movement speed buff is just not it. Now, if you have Corrosion Shard, that's a different story because you're now immune to the negative effects, but you still get the 20% damage reduction. Oh, wait, no, you don't. Do you? Wait, how does Shard read? When you are in decay. So Corrosion Shard... You're immune to the negative effects of decay. The additive effect is doubled while in decay effect of your corrosion damage. So I assume you're still decayed, you're just immune to the negative effects. So yes, if you have Corrosion Shard, you want to take this. There's no downsides, it's just positives. Now Corrosion Shard, on the other hand, is going to go B tier. Yeah, B tier. You get plus 25% corrosion damage, and you're immune to the negative effects of decay from... So basically, you're immune to slows from decay, which is a huge, huge advantage. Like I said, movement speed is very pog to me. I'm actually going to put this in A, just because of how good it is to be able to avoid movement speed, like decreases. Like that's just so good, especially at higher levels. So Corrosion Shard is going to get A tier from me. Deadly Counter. Once you take damage, all of your hits become crits for 3 seconds. A tier. I love explosive builds. The only explosive weapon that crits is Shrieker and technically the Scorching Rounds, even though that's not really a big explosive weapon. So making the Tiger Cannon, the Mortar, the Bone Dragon, whatever you want, crit if you take damage. Like just a ton of extra damage output that you can get. Deadly Counter, lit, fantastic, love it. Deadly Curse, minus 75% max health, but you get plus 75% weapon and skill damage. For me, this is going to go B tier. It's insane damage output. If you have Paranormality, it's an S tier scroll. It's just a plus 75% damage boost with no downsides. But if you don't have it, if you're like me, every time I see this scroll, I have to take it, even if I know it's going to get me killed. And a lot of times it does get me killed because I play on pretty high reincarnation levels. So the less health I have, unless I have like Spirit Feline or Paranormality, then this just gets me killed. But the extra damage is so much fun. 75% is nutty as a permanent boost. You start hitting things so much harder, and I think it's so much fun to use, but it can very easily get you killed, and that's why it's going to go to B tier. Next up, we have Decay Driver, plus 20% movement speed when you hit an enemy that's in decay effect. I'll put it in B. It's a really good movement scroll, but obviously you have to be doing corrosion damage to somebody. But any sort of movement scroll, I find it hard to get to C or below. Like, this is a B tier scroll. It's good, it's solid, gets the job done. Bada bang, bada boom, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Next up, we're gonna put our first one into F tier. Deflection Shield. The only time that I find it useful... Oh wait, I should probably read what it is. Let me get the exact description. Minus 90% damage taken from enemies 15 meters away, but plus 90% damage taken from enemies within 15 meters. The only time I will ever take this scroll is if I get it in the peddler right before the boss, the ship boss. That's it. Other than that, no chance. This hard counters the ship boss because very little attacks are going to be within 7 meters. But everywhere else, for me, personally, it would get me killed. I am pretty bad at using the minimap to locate enemies. So it is super easy for me to just let a beetle slip through, or maybe a lantern in the third area that I don't see and just happens to hit me from behind. If that happens with this scroll, you're going to get like damn near one shot by beetles if you're on a high enough difficulty level. And fucking lanterns too. Like, not to mention like Annihilation Monks, stuff like that makes this F tier for me. Like, for me, this will just get me killed instantly with no upside. I mean, the damage reduction on enemies farther is nice, but trying to like manage that constantly, nah, I can't do it. So F tier, it's going to be with the Cursed Scrolls for me. Deft Hands. After killing an enemy, your weapon does not consume ammo for 2 seconds. A fantastic ammo scroll, on the same level as like Against the Flow. If you're killing things quick enough and you have, like, Deft Hands could work really well with Improved Clip, because the ammo you find goes straight into your mag, and you're obviously not consuming much ammo if you're killing things quick enough. So A tier scroll, a way to help consume or help your ammo consumption go down, is always great, and Deft Hands does a very, very good job of that. So Devil's Covenant, minus 50% max HP, but plus 50% copper gained for the rest of the run. C tier, no, D tier. This used to be an S tier scroll. Now it's like, it's just not the same. The Deadly Curse, the 75% damage or health reduction, is worth it for the damage. The 50% health reduction for 50% copper, most of the time, I just don't think it's worth it. Maybe somebody will prove me, like, argue me wrong in the comments. Maybe you will. Maybe your opinion is that it's just infinite, it's just insane. But after they changed it and nerfed it from what it was previously, it just doesn't feel the same. Doesn't hit quite as hard, and something I don't take very often at all unless I already have like Paranormality, Spirit Feline, and so on and so forth. Next up, we have Dormant Bullet. The fewer bullets remaining in the mag, the higher the weapon damage is, up to 75% increase in weapon damage. This is going to go into B tier. There are very few weapons that don't take advantage of this. Obviously, any of the weapons that have one bullet in the mag, not really. But everything else can take some sort of advantage of this. And that's a good chunk of weapons, and it does really good with, like, Angelic Aura, Scalpel, you know, fast-firing weapons, stuff like that, Big Hippo, any of that. And Dormant Bullet does a really, really good job. Next up, Double Exhilaration. Double the capacity of your secondary skill. This is going to go B as well. Super good in specific runs like Atomic Bomb builds. The Cat does a really good job with these. Bunny doesn't usually need it. Tiger doesn't usually need it. Secondary skill is not a huge part of his build, in my opinion. The new guy, this is kind of nice to have on the new character. So it affects each character very differently, but I think overall it's just a very solid scroll. Obviously, sometimes you're not going to want it, but a lot of times it doesn't really hurt anything to take. It's probably the lower end of B tier, but still definitely belongs in B, in my opinion. Next up, Dual Edge, plus 1% damage dealt and plus 0.2% damage taken for every enemy that you kill. C tier. Once again, if you have Spirit Feline, just nullifies the negative effects. But if not, then you're taking a little bit of a risk. You know, you're going to be taking a lot more damage, but you're also going to be killing things a lot quicker. In my video about tips and tricks for Reincarnation 8, I said, in my opinion, for this specific Reincarnation level, a good offense is the best defense. So if you're just killing things fast enough, you're chilling. Now, obviously, you know, Dual Edge could lead you to getting one shot and whatnot, essentially. So take it at your own risk. That's why it's C tier. I mean, it's a lot of damage that you're going to be taking in return, but you're probably going to end up doing a good chunk of damage as well. I mean, plus 1% for every enemy you kill. You get this early. You kill 200 enemies, you have plus 200% weapon damage, which is a little bit nutty. Next up, Effective Split. Get 2 random scrolls, and you cannot drop them. Now, is this one that you can get a curse scroll? I don't think this is the one. No, No, so this is the one, yeah. You get 2 scrolls, and you cannot discard them. I'm going to put it in F out of principle, because I've said this before. Some of you may or may not know this. This scroll and one other that we'll talk about later was added into the game, and I think it is one of the most lazily designed scrolls of all time. The scroll batch that it came out with was super lazy. There was nothing new. They were just recycling their old content into a scroll, because it's a scroll that gives you 2 other scrolls that they already made. There's nothing new, nothing exciting about this. It's kind of fun and runs. And if they would have released this with like some other new scrolls as well, I would have been a lot happier about this. But because of how this scroll was implemented into the game, I am not a big fan of this at all. Now I will always take, not always, but I'll take it a lot in runs. It's kind of fun to gamble. If I didn't have any bias towards the scroll drop, it's probably a C tier scroll, because you could kind of get fucked over since you can't discard them. But I just hate the way that they did it, so F tier. Next up, Elemental Bestowment, which is recover 1% max health and 10 ammo of equipped weapon whenever you kill an enemy affected by elemental effect. So a little bit of health regen, a little bit of ammo regen. We're going to put it in C. It's good if you're doing elemental damage. If you're not, there's no reason to take it. But a little bit of health and a little bit of ammo regen is always saucy when you're doing a run. So C tier for Elemental Bestowment. Next up, we have Elemental Convergence. No, yeah, wait, hold up. Oh, it is Elemental Convergence. Let's go! My hours are paying off. So that's plus 15% elemental damage for each nearby enemy with elemental effect, up to 75% damage. This is also going to go C tier. If you're doing an elemental build, it's nutty, it's insane, it's really good. If not, you're obviously not going to get much out of this. But the extra damage that it can do, once again, up to 75% elemental damage is a nutty amount. So if you're doing elemental damage, definitely C tier. Or if you're doing elemental damage, it's probably A tier. If not, there's no reason to have it. So, we'll throw it in C. I think it's good. I think every one of these above affects the game more than this one does on average. Next up, Elemental Cube. Basically, one elemental damage type gets a 25% damage buff, and every time you reload, it will change which elemental damage type it is. It's a 50% damage increase, and I'll put it in C for the same exact reason. If you're doing elemental damage, this is probably A tier. If you're not doing an elemental run, there's no reason to have it, so C tier. Elemental what's the actual name of this? Elemental Power. 25% elemental damage. When you trigger an elemental effect, it'll pass it to nearby random enemies. This one's going to go B just because of how good it is with elements. Being able to pass it to nearby enemies is so good, and I just can't put it in C tier. It's the same thing where, like, if you're not doing elemental damage, this is pointless. But if you are, this is just such a must-have that I think this deserves a B tier. So that's why we're going to keep it in B tier. That's a cursed scroll. Elemental Torment, plus 20% lucky shot against enemies and elemental effect. Another elemental scroll. It's going to go right with the other elemental stuff for the exact same reason. It's really good if you're doing elemental damage. If not, there's no real upside to it at all. So yeah, right there. Elemental Weave is going to go to B tier for the same reason as Elemental Power, where if you're doing elemental damage, this is kind of nuts. You have to do a little more detailed work, because you have to be constantly switching weapons to get your elemental stuff to proc. But having a guaranteed elemental proc for 3 seconds can be just silly, just stupid, honestly. Dual Fang, guarantee explosions for 3 seconds, swap weapons, swap back, guarantee it again. It's nuts. It's so good. So that's why it's going to get a little nod above the other elemental stuff. Next up, Elite Assassin, plus 10% weapon and skill damage for every elite that you have killed so far. C tier, obviously on higher difficulties is going to be better. You're probably going to be fighting more elites. You have to get this early in the game to get a lot of use out of it, though. That's why I'm gonna put it in the C tier, is because if you're later in the game, it's just not gonna, it doesn't hit, it's not worth it essentially. So if you find this, I would say just anywhere in the first area before you get to the desert, or maybe early desert, it could be worth, but not good enough overall to get the nod out of the C tier. Next up, we have energy sandals, which I don't even need to I'm not even going to talk about it. If you want to know what energy sandals do, look it up, because it is a 3-paragraph, essay that's in MLA format, and they even cited their fucking sources. And I just hate, like, scrolls should never be this. It's not like it's complicated once you understand it, but it shouldn't be this long to read. Like, 12 points of energy. Store 12 points of energy for each dash. Consume all energy when using your secondary skill. Plus 1% skill damage when you consume each point of energy, and you can have a maximum of 600 points. Basically, every time you dash, you increase your skill damage until you use a skill, and then all of that extra skill damage goes away, and you restart. I mean, you're going to be using your secondary skill pretty often. This isn't going to net you a ton of damage. I don't like this scroll. It's a personal bias. Yell at me in the comments all you want. I don't care. I don't care. Yell at me, whatever. It's going to be the same with, where's the other one? Where's his good friend? Lone Wolf's skill booster. This one. This is the exact same thing, except it's every time you crit, you get extra damage. So it's for the same reason as this. It's going there. I don't want to deal with it. Next up, we have energy storage, which is, survey says, primary skill capacity +1, but cooldown is +30%. Okay, I wanted to make sure I had the cooldown right. So you get an extra primary skill, but cooldown is increased. I'm going to put it in C tier. It's good on a couple of characters. I think the dog, this gets a lot of good benefit from. The new guy, honestly, with enough cooldown reduction, I think this could get enough a good benefit from. And but there's some other characters like the cat. It's pretty fucking useless. The tiger, you're probably gonna have good cooldown reduction on your E anyway, so this isn't a huge deal. The bird, I mean, leap is got a lot of ways to cool it down. Like, it's okay, it's good in some circumstances, but it's not great, which is exactly what most of these are in C tier. So yeah. Evil Banishing Talisman. Now this is an exciting one. I'm going to put it in A tier. I don't think it affects the game enough to be S tier, but I will put it in A tier because there are so many more gold chests that have cursed scroll options now, that being immune to them is just elite. You can get a lot of good upgrades from those gold chests, and Evil Banishing Talisman deserves A, and I think it's just beautiful, as the Italians would say. Next up is, this makes you immune to all cursed scrolls. I don't know if I up and said that, but immunity to all cursed scrolls right there. Next up, Evil Devouring Sword, which is plus 15% weapon damage, and what's the secondary thing it gives you? I'm trying to find it. Is Evil Devouring Sword, is that a common? I think it's a common, isn't it? Survey says 20% skill damage, 15% weapon damage. Once again, I'm going to put this in B. There's a lot of ways to get cursed scrolls now. If you have cursed immunity, obviously this is a great scroll. Just gives you extra damage. But a lot of times, you'll get a bonus for taking a cursed scroll, like something to do with your weapons. You get a add an exclusive inscription or get a legendary scroll, and you get a cursed scroll, which might be bad, but maybe it's not too bad of one, and you just get an extra damage buff. That's not too shabby at all. So Evil Devouring Sword is not bad, and once again, I think it got buffed per se with the last update because of how gold chests work now. Next up, Explosive Bullets, which I believe is plus. I'm not even going to try to get that one off the top of my head. I'm just going to look and see if I can find, or not see if I can find. I will find the exact numbers of what we're doing here. This one is, survey says, non-elemental weapons have a 20% chance to cause an additional explosion for 100% of the base damage. This is for, oops, where'd it go? Hello? Hello? Explosive bullets. Did I just cut? Wait. What did I do? I don't know where it went. I thought it was dropped like right here. But none of those are explosive bullets. So I was going to put it into A tier. So I don't know where it is, but oh, here it is. A tier. Because like I said, I do explosion runs a lot. A lot of the explosive weapons are not elemental. So getting an additional explosion that just does another fuck ton of damage is so nice. Obviously, it's pointless with elemental weapons, but because of how good it is when you're not using elemental weapons, I love this scroll, and it's going to get the A tier nod from me. Next up. Oh my god, we still have so many to go. Are we even halfway? Extra surprise. Special surprise. Extra surprise. Killing an enemy grants extra copper and extra chance to receive supply for secondary skill. C tier. It's okay. It's not great. If you need more secondary skills, like you're doing a lot of secondary skills stuff, it's okay. Extra copper, okay. It's fine, but it's nothing crazy. Next up, we have... this changed a little bit recently, didn't it? So I should probably look this up. Fast loader. After swapping weapons, you replenish the magazine instantly, and you get plus 30% lucky shot chance, which gradually decreases to 0% over 3 seconds. It's okay. Once again, I'm not swapping weapons very often, so I will get very little use out of this. The use that you do get is pretty nice, though. Having a fully reloaded weapon when you swap is pretty good. But it's nothing that I'm going to be writing home about, to say the least. Field support. When the holder is moving, plus 15% weapon damage for yourself and your teammates within 15 meters, only available in multiplayer. All of the only available in multiplayers for me are going to be D tier, just because I very, very, very rarely play it. I don't feel good, like confident enough to give a take on these scrolls because I've never used them. That being said, starting next Wednesday, we're going to be doing Gunfire with viewers again every week, so that should be fun. Get ready to check that out. But I very rarely play it, so I very rarely use the scroll, and I can't really comment on it, so I'm just going to put it in D tier. It probably doesn't deserve F, but I can't say if it deserves something higher or not. Next up, Final Judgment. When weapons attacks instantly kill normal enemies with less than 15% health remaining, and bosses with less than 8% health remaining. This is S tier. It's a wonderful finishing scroll. You're going to be killing enemies so much faster. And obviously, if you stack this on a really good run where you're already killing enemies quick, like you just mow through them. You pull out your fucking John Deere 360 no-hand riding mower and just wipe them off the face of the earth. But killing bosses early, I mean, 8% health, it's almost, it's close to 10% of their health remaining when they die. Like, that's pretty good. S tier for me. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Next up, we have Fire Enthusiast, which is whenever you inflict the burning effect on enemies, inflict it on yourself, where you take continuous damage. While you are burning, fire damage causes 2% life steal. Fire Enthusiast is D tier with Corrosion Enthusiast because life steal is not great in this game. You know why? Because it's only health. It doesn't regen shield. It doesn't regen armor. So if you have shield or armor, you're just taking 2% damage a second. Just taking continuous damage for no reason. You're not getting any lifesteal out of it until you're taking health damage. I mean, lifesteal is just so bad. If you have like enhanced flesh or if you have flesh and bones or something, it's a lot better. But that's one scroll, and it's just not that good. I don't like it very much at all for any reason. Next up, we have Fish or Bear Paw, which is minus 50% damage, but your attacks hit twice. So it's the same damage output, but this is going to be A tier. The only scenario you wouldn't take this is if you are really trying to hit high damage numbers in like one shot, then you don't want to take this. Otherwise, it gives you a better chance to proc Lucky Shot. It gives you a better chance to proc elemental damage. Think of it as if you're rolling a 6-sided dice and you're trying to get a 3, and you get to roll twice instead of getting to roll once. Your chances go up a lot that you're gonna, roll that 3. So, hold on, a lot of talking here. So it's really good. And once again, there are very, very few scenarios where you would not want to take Fish or Bear Paw. Flame Shard. Resistant to fire damage, and your fire damage goes up 25%. This one's going to go in B. I think the other... Where's the Lightning Shard, too? Let's get this party rolling. Lightning Shard also goes B. Being immune to fire and lightning is nice. The additional damage is nice. I don't think it affects the game as much as Corrosion Shard, so it doesn't deserve to be an A tier. But obviously this enables you to get Fire Enthusiast and Lightning Enthusiast, so that's pretty good as well. Next up we have Flesh and Bones. Flesh and Bones is going to go in B. Really good on the dog. Okay on some other characters. It just doesn't stack up to Paranormality. Paranormality is better for every character except for the dog, so... maybe the cat too. You can make an argument for the cat, but regardless, it's good. It's a very good scroll, and if you have a lot of other health regen, this could be the move, or like lifesteal or something. But if not, it's just not it. So, I think B tier is good for it. It's a really good scroll, but it's not elite. It's not on the elite level. Which I didn't even read this one. So Flesh and Bones is convert your shield and armor to health, and you recover 2% of your max health every second. So, all health, a little bit of health recovery. Pog you. Next up, we have Flowing Time, which is a cooldown reduction scroll, but I don't know the exact numbers, so let me get them for you. Survey says all remaining cooldowns minus 1% or minus 1 second when you get hit, and you can trigger it once every 2 seconds. So a little bit of cooldown reduction. Is going to go C tier for me. It's not. Whenever I have this, I don't see its effects happening super often. If you really want that cooldown reduction, it's not bad. If you're getting hit, you're getting that cooldown reduction. 1 second's a big deal sometimes. But personally, when I'm doing runs, I don't see the effect of this nearly as often. Next up, Flowing Wind. The faster you're moving, the less damage you take. C, it's okay. Obviously, it's fully based around other scrolls because you have to have movement speed. But if you do have movement speed, the damage reduction is kind of nice. If not, I mean, there's no downsides to it, but it doesn't affect the game that much. Next up, we have one that just got changed. Got a little bit of a buff. Fountain of Life. When picking up copper or ammo, you recover 1 health. Or you increase your max health by 1 for 10 seconds if your health is full. That makes this a B tier. You're picking up copper and ammo a lot, which means if your health is low and you can't find buns anywhere, this is a good way to help recover that health. If your health isn't low, then you still get some sort of benefit out of it, which is a max health increase, which is really nice. So I think it's definitely worth taking with all these other scrolls in B and A, like worth taking with them or over them if you really need it. But because of the new buff, I probably would have put this in C, maybe even D tier, because of how much less you'd be able to use it. But now every copper and piece of ammo you pick up gets used with Fountain of Life, as opposed to how it worked previously. So I think it's really good, and I think it definitely deserves to be in B tier. Next up, we have another multiplayer scroll, so I'm just going to put it in D tier. Genesis. When shooting, you have a 20% chance to add extra ammo to the mag. In terms of ammo scrolls, it's relatively average, maybe a little bit above average, but I don't think it's above average enough to go into B tier. It is really nice to have a chance to get extra ammo in your mag, especially with like a demon lore or something. If you don't have infinite ammo synergy, then this can get you rolling on those stacks. But I just don't think it's effective enough. And I mean, it's good on pretty much any weapon, really. But I don't think it's effective enough to notch it into the B tier of scrolls up here. So C tier for Genesis. Giant Slayer. Now let me get the exact numbers for this one, because I don't know. off the top of my head. What? When hitting an enemy, there's a 10% chance to deal 15% of the enemy's current health as true damage. So you can do a max of 2,000 damage per hit. Obviously, the more health an enemy has, the more damage this will do. Once again, you can do a max of 2,000. But this is, like, obviously it's only 10%, but you could, if you're doing a fast firing weapon, works very well with, because if you're proccing this pretty often, then you're doing on like high health enemies, say you're in Reincarnation 8 or something, you're doing damn near 2,000 damage, like every so often, as just additional DPS output. And that's a huge number. Like, this Giant Slayer just usually equates to a lot of extra damage. It's not affected by, shields and armor and stuff, because it's true damage. So it's just good to have. It's just a great scroll to have. Next up, we have Silver Metal. Silver Metal? I think it's Silver Metal. Or no, this is Gold Metal, because it's, gold. Recover 15% of your max shield or armor when you use your primary skill or dash. I did it. Nah, no way, right? Okay. So Silver Metal is going to go into S tier. Unless you have Flesh and Bones, there's no reason you would not want this. I mean, recovering 15% of your shield or armor, like, every time you dash, is just, it's so good. Like, you can keep your shield and armor up constantly. Obviously, it works well with some other scrolls. Abnormal Speed's a good one it works with. But in terms of, like, defensive scrolls, it really doesn't get much better than this. This is one of the top tier damage or defensive scrolls for sure. Next up, Good and Evil, which is plus 15% lucky shot if you don't own any cursed scrolls, and plus 15% max shield and armor for each cursed scroll you own. B tier, you get benefits no matter what. If you have cursed scrolls, you get a little bit of extra health and shield or armor to deal with it. If you don't, then you get a little bit of extra lucky shot with no downside. So this just seems like a really good scroll to have. It's not, mind-boggling at the things it's going to help you with, but it's just a solid scroll to take most of the time. No real downsides and a lot of upsides. Buns now recover all of your health instead of just some of it. C tier, it's okay. Buns aren't... Sorry, this is really bothering me. Buns aren't the most common thing in the world, but they're not the most uncommon thing either, to where I think this is like a necessary scroll to have. So I think it belongs in C tier. It's better than the stuff in D, obviously. Like, it's not like I wouldn't take this, but there's a lot of stuff that I would take over this for sure. So C tier for the full buns. Hawkeye Sight, once again, this is one where, let me get the numbers right. Plus 2 times crit, but minus 50% weapon damage when you don't trigger a crit, and weapons with scopes gain times 2 zoom. A tier for Hawkeye Sight. Like I said, I do a lot of explosive runs, which means this is obviously not a good thing to have with explosive builds, because you're not critting, so you're just doing less damage. But because of how good this is when you're doing pretty much anything except for an explosive build, like, this deserves the A tier slot for sure. You get nutty damage numbers going with, it doesn't even, like, Angelic or any other weapon that even can crit. This is almost always worth it to take. Just hit your shots, kid, and you're going to be doing insane damage. Next up, we have Heavy Shield, which is minus 10% movement speed, but a 50% chance to resist normal damage. D tier for me. Now, before you start just full sending it at me for this one, look, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If it lowers movement speed, I'm not a very big fan of it. This makes me feel so goddamn slow when I'm using it, unless I have, like, insane damage boosts or movement speed boosts already. It's just not worth it to me. Like, yeah, 50% chance to resist normal damage is nice, but not worth the movement speed decrease, in my opinion. I'd rather be able to dodge with my movement speed being higher as opposed to trying to rely on luck to dodge instead. So that's my opinion. Next up is hidden breakables. What the hell is this one called? Scroll faster. God damn. Surveys. Holy shit. Oh god, it's chalked. I passed it somewhere. Hidden treasure. Breakable objects may drop copper with a lower chance of dropping buns and soul essence when destroyed. I'm not really a big fan of this. I'm going to put this in D tier. I mean, extra copper could be nice, but I'd rather have buns and soul essence dropping most of the time, if I'm being honest. So this is going to get the nod into D tier for me. Next up is improved clip, which is hopefully right here somewhere. It's there it is. Ammo pickups are directly added into the magazine, and upon pickup, plus 25% movement speed. This is going to get an easy B tier. It's not quite effective enough to get me to A tier, but obviously getting ammo right back into the mag means more DPS because you're not reloading as often. Some weapons it doesn't matter, like a Tiger Cannon, mortar, etc. But the increased movement speed is also really, really nice. Another thing that increased movement speed above the C tier. Movement speed is just so important, and any way to do it is POG. So B for improved clip. Curse scroll. Don't care, didn't ask. Lifesaver is next, which is pretty saucy. It is when your health is reduced to 0, health is fixed at 1 for 5 seconds, and killing any enemy in the duration recovers 50% of your max HP and 50% of your max shield and armor. The scroll is destroyed after triggering once. So you basically have 5 seconds to kill something to save your life, and most of the time you're going to be getting the use out of that. I'm going to put it in A. It's basically an extra life, essentially. So any way to get extra lives is pretty saucy. So A tier for Lifesaver. Next up is Lightless Shield. You get 3 charges of it. Every time you get hit, it takes away one of the Lightless Shield charges, and you don't take any damage. And then that recharges you get all of your charges back every 30 seconds. Another A tier scroll. As far as defensive scrolls go, this is up there with the best of them. Literally just mitigating the entirety of a damage tick can be nuts on any sort of high damage. You know, Bandit Retainer, Bandit Tacticians, anything that doesn't do damage over time. This is just a very, very good scroll to have, and gets you out of a lot of situations. Lightning Enthusiast, the third and final enthusiast, is whenever you inflict the shock effect on enemies, also inflict shock on yourself, damage taken plus 10%, and when you are in shock, you have plus 75% lightning damage. D tier. This would be higher if it wasn't for the fact that while you're in, like, the bonus you get for being in shock is you do more shock damage. Like, if it was just more damage in general, it'd be a definitely C, if not B tier. But making it so it has to be lightning damage just makes it not nearly as good as it could be. So Lightning Enthusiast is going to get D tier along with all the other enthusiasts. They can all sit in their D tier together and then, you know, jerk their little D's off if they want. Sorry. That being said, next up, Lone Ranger. When there are no monsters around you within 12 meters, you get a stack. On the contrary, you lose a stack every half a second when there are enemies nearby. For each stack, you have plus 1% lucky shot chance, and you have an additional 5% lucky shot chance when you reach 20 stacks. There's literally zero downside to this, but I still hate how long this scroll is and how, like, convoluted. So I'm just going to put it in C. You can get a lot of extra lucky shot. It's useful sometimes, but I mean, there's no downside to it. You just get additional lucky shot. You don't lose anything, so it's C tier. It's okay. Long shot, you deal more damage the farther away you are. This is a good B tier scroll because there is no downside to this. The only thing you're going to get out of the scroll throughout a run is positive extra damage that you wouldn't have gotten before. Sometimes you might be like face fisting everything. You're punching the shit out of them, you know, beating the fuck out of them. Maybe you're doing a cleave build. Maybe you're doing a mortar build, or where you're like right in their face. But still, occasionally you're probably going to get some extra damage out of this. So more often than not, this affects the game a lot. So B tier. Magic Magazine. When reloading, there's a 30% chance that you just don't use ammo from your reserves. It's an okay ammo scroll, nothing crazy, nothing saucy. I don't think it's that good, honestly. There's a lot of other scrolls I would take above this, even in the like ammo category. Magic Watch, 33% chance to not use a dash or your primary skill when you use it. A tier. Having a chance to just spam primary clicks and dashes on almost every character is nuts. Even if it's just for the dash, having an extra dash can be the difference between life or death sometimes. So this is definitely an A tier for me. Magic Watch is nutty. Merciless Combo. We're getting a little silly. Plus 10% weapon damage for every 1 second when hitting the enemy, and you can stack it up to 100 times. Basically, the faster you're hitting the enemy, the more damage you do. The S tier. Now, I know with low fire rate weapons, it's not useful at all. But because of how fucking broken this is with fast firing weapons, it has to be on here. Boss DPS and Elite DPS just skyrockets to the moon with a fast firing weapon on this thing. You get an Angelic Aura with some rate of fire up, or a Scout, like anything, it's so stupid and easily deserves to be an S tier. Even if it's not very effective on like explosive weapons or any low rate of fire weapons, it still definitely deserves it. So, next up, Merciless Strike, plus 50% lucky shot chance when you're critting, minus 50% when you're not critting. This is kind of on the same tier as, I'd say it's just, it's slightly worse than Hawkeye Sight in my opinion, but still a very, very good scroll to be taking as long as your weapon can crit. Next up, Mid-Air Strike, plus 50% damage while you're in the air. This is going to be A tier for me because how I play, I jump constantly. I am constantly jumping around, so this is going to land right into A tier. Like, it's literally insane how often I just jump to avoid things, or that's just how I play. So I just get a lot of damage increase from this. So it's going to be A tier for me. This is a multiplayer scroll, so I'll throw it in D. Mysterious Chest is the brother of Effective Split. These two scrolls were released at the same time. This one is you get 1 to 3 random scrolls. You can discard them if you don't get a curse scroll, because there's a small % chance that you could get a curse scroll as well. So it's going to get F tier just for the same reason as Effective Split. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Yin Yang. That's not what it's called. Mystic Mirror. You alternate between Yin Yang. While you're in Yin state, you minus... every 12 seconds it switches. And in the Yin state, you have minus 20% damage taken. And in the Yang state, you have plus 50% damage dealt. This is an A tier scroll. You get damage reduction. You get damage. It happens automatically. You don't have to worry about it yourself. It's saucy. I mean, 50% damage taken for or dealt for half your run, and then minus 10%, 20% damage taken for the other half of the run. That's pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good. So A tier, easy. Ninja Invincibility. Oh yeah, I forget if this one got changed or not, so I'll look. Survey says, hello. Plus 5% lucky shot chance per second, up to 50%, and it resets after you trigger a lucky shot. Oh, that's actually better than it used to be, I suppose, but I'm still going to put it in D tier. I don't like, it's just, I guess you're going to be getting extra lucky shot almost every single time, no matter what, but I just don't think it's very good. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you could argue me, like prove me wrong and make me want to use it more. I just don't think it's a very good scroll. I would have put it in F tier if it was its old version, but this version, I'll bump it into D tier. Next up, No Retreat. This one is an interesting one. I'm pretty sure this is No Retreat, yeah. Plus 50% weapon damage when your secondary skill count is 0, and it lasts for 12 seconds. Never mind, this one is not an interesting one. There's a different one I'm thinking of. This one is just good, but not super good. I'm gonna put it in C. Okay, this has been a long video. Give me a break. I'm gonna put it in C. Listen, very little, very few times have I ever had 0 secondary skills. Very few times. Now, the fact that it persists for 12 seconds is really nice, and 50% weapon damage is great, but there's no scroll damage involved. And once again, this isn't proccing super often for me, so it just doesn't affect my game as often as some of the other scrolls. That's why I'm going to put it in C. On the house, I think this is A tier. Getting a, free thing from the peddler. You get one free item from the peddler every time. I think it's just really good. It gives you, it lets you have more money to spend on upgrades, to spend on gold chests, to spend on whatever you want, really. If you have a scroll, something that increases your damage based off of copper. I mean, On the House is just a very, very, very solid scroll to have. I think it belongs in A tier. Ostrich Rider, for me, F tier. It's plus 300% movement speed, but your dash cooldown is increased by plus 50% movement speed and plus 300% to your dash cooldown. It's a nice movement speed buff. It's not enough to force me to lose my dash like that. This does not help my playstyle. For some of you, it might. For me, it does not. F tier scroll, trash, garbage for me. Next up, we have Paranormality. You are stuck at 1 health, but you double your shield and armor. S tier. Paranormality is just a better version of Flesh and Bones. Every character except for the dog benefits from this. It works really well with Deadly Curse. It works well with a lot of things. Not having to rely on buns throughout the run is really, really good. It helped a lot in the run that you guys may have saw today. Or I guess this will be the second video today. So if you're watching this right away, it'll be the video coming out after this today. But it can help a lot in runs. So it's really good. And there's very little reason to take this unless you're on the dog. So S tier, Penetration Bullet, easy S tier. I mean, crits pierce through armor and shield and do 50% damage to normal health. You just farm through enemies. The shield and armor is there to try to make them last longer. This makes them just last. It's like doing the Glock 3000 vacuum wave suck maneuver. Nobody's gonna last through that. Nobody's lasting through Penetration Bullet either. Simple as that. So S tier, easy. Obviously, explosive weapons can't crit, but for how good it is when you are critting, it's easily S tier. Next up, Perfect Sixth. This is going to be in C tier. Let me get the exact description here. Survey says, take a shot every time I say survey says in this video, by the way. Every 6th shot, you get plus 50% damage, but the count is reset when you reload. So it's good. It's a lot of extra damage every once in a while, but if you have like a mortar or a tiger cannon or anything, a prism, anything that has less than 6 bullets in the mag, this is useless, pointless, and you're never going to proc it, which is tough because there's a decent amount of solid weapons that this could be good for. Like if you imagine every 6th tiger cannon shot got an extra 50% damage increase, that'd be lit. But no, so it's going to get C tier because it's okay when you can use it, and a lot of times you can't use it though. So next up is Persistent, which is the second half of the airbag combo. So you have minus 0.5% damage taken for every 1% of your health missing. So this is going to go into B tier. I think it's definitely better than Berserk Soul. If you have airbag, this means you're taking very, very little damage, which is obviously really nice. And if you don't have airbag, then the lower your health is, the less damage you take, which is still really good and can help you survive maybe an additional hit or two, which in this game is very important. So I think this deserves to be in B tier. It's good. It's really, really good with airbag. It's good without airbag. So I'm going to settle on B tier. Holy shit, we still have 3 rows. Oh, no. Phantom Skin. It's basically Lightless Shield, except instead of just not taking damage, you restore... fuck, I'll just read it. We're already an hour and 14 minutes in anyway, so fuck it, right? So Phantom Skin is... What? Hello? Oh, wait. No, 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 no. Phantom Skin's legendary. Oh, there it is. You gain 1 layer every 10 seconds. 1 layer is consumed when you take damage, and you restore 30% of your shield or armor immediately. You can only have 3 layers at a time. So you get a layer every 10 seconds, and it restores your shield right away after you get hit. It's an A tier scroll. Oh, wait, no, it's a B tier scroll. It's good, but not as good as Lightless Shield, so I'd put it on B tier. Lightless Shield, I think, is better, but Phantom Skin is also very good. Preemptive Strike, plus 50% weapon damage if the magazine is full. This is an A tier for me, because I use a lot of Tiger Cannons. I use a lot of mortars, stuff like that. Prism, the Glimmering, the bows, a lot of stuff benefits from this. And if you get Advanced Depot, every weapon benefits from this. So Preemptive Strike is super, super good, easy A tier, along with Propulsion Device. 3 dashes is just nutty. Being able to dash around like crazy is obviously really, really solid. You can dash away from a lot more attacks and whatnot, so easily A tier for that. Reinforced Eggshell, B tier. Minus 30% damage taken when you have shield, plus 30% damage taken when you don't have shield. Most characters are going to have more shield than health, so this is beneficial. Obviously, if you have Paranormality, this is nutty. And, I just think most characters are going to like this scroll. If you're on the dog, you obviously don't want it. The cat, maybe you don't want it. But everybody else, I think, benefits from this a lot, so it's going to get B tier for me. Resilient Life, plus 3% health per second for 3 seconds after you take damage. Does it last 3 seconds? Is that right? Fuck, it lasts longer than me. Oh, for 5 seconds? Shit! It lasts forever. No, but after taking damage, you restore 3% health per second for 5 seconds. C tier. It's good. Once again, this doesn't affect shields and armor, so it only affects health. If you have like Flesh and Bones, you're playing on the dog, it can be very, very good. But most of the time, it's just okay as something to have. I have to go check this real quick. I'll be back. So it's good. It's good, but it's not insane. So that's why we're putting it there. Next up, this is the interesting one, I think. Resolute. Right? Please tell me I'm right about this one. All these fucking swords. Okay. Plus 50% movement speed. Movement speed? Wait, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. And plus 25% damage when your shield or armor is 0. Here's the kicker. It doubles the amount of time a shield waits before it recovers. D tier. I know there's movement speed. And I know there's damage. But doubling the amount of time that your shield takes to start recharging is going to get you killed more often than it's going to help you in any way, shape, or form. So that it just has to be D tier. It's just not it. It's just not very good. Next up, we have rock hard determination, and if anything says rock hard, it's got to be good, right? Right. Correct, you are. This is going to go to B tier. Before the changes to it, this would be in D tier easily. But the scroll says plus 50% damage while being stationary. This will gradually decrease to 0% over 4 seconds. So essentially, if you stand still for a microchasm of a second, you're going to get this buff, 50% damage. As you start moving, it'll slowly decrease until you don't have any. Okay? So, previously, it would just immediately go away as soon as you started moving, which made this terrible because you're always moving. But a lot of times you might just stop for a quick second to aim or stop to do something, and then you still get some damage out of this. So I think it's a really good scroll now, way better than it used to be, and I think it deserves to be in B tier. Next up, we have safety measures, which is I'm scared. Dashing after being injured recovers 50% of the total damage taken within 1 second. Safety measures is an A tier. I'd never really do this on purpose, but having this, because of how often I'm dashing around, it recovers so much health. This used to only recover HP, but now it just recovers 50% of the damage taken, It's very good for keeping you alive. It's a nutty scroll and does just wondrous things for everybody involved. So easy A tier on safety measures. Next up, we have Sanguine Relic. Good old Sanguini. This is plus 50% damage taken and plus 3% lifesteal. It's going in F tier. There are a few very, very, very specific cases where this is actually not bad, maybe even good. Spirit Feline, Capacity Overdraft, Atomic Bomb. But 90% of the time it's just shit because you're taking extra damage and you get plus 30% lifesteal, which, as we already discussed, lifesteal in this game is not very good because it doesn't affect your armor or your shields. So F tier. It's just F tier. It's that simple. Simple, straight to the point. Boom, bang, bop. On to the next one. What is this? Shrine of Recovery? Is this what this is? Is this Shrine of Recovery? Oh, God, I hope it's Shrine of Recovery. Come on. Show me. Yes, it is. You fully recover your health after changing... going to a new area. After changing stages. Nah. So, like, every time you get a goblet from the chest and you go to the next stage, you'll just fully recover your health. This could proc at maximum, what? 12 times a run? I guess a little bit more often because, anyway, this is going to affect run. This is just so bad. It affects runs very, very little, and never in my life have I said, golly, I would have been saved if my ass would have just had Shrine of Recovery. No, nah, it ain't it. Next up, Silver Medal. Feel free to yell at me for that one, but I will not be budging. Silver Medal is... hello, survey says. Your shield starts recharging when you kill an enemy or destroy an item. C tier. It's okay. Destroying an enemy or destroying an item or killing an enemy and your shield starts recharging immediately. Could be a good way to help with the Resolute's issue. It's a good way to just help make sure you stay alive more often, but it's not insane. It's not going to be keeping you alive constantly or doing a lot of work like some of these other things. Skateboarder. Skateboarder is a B tier ammo scroll. When you dash, you recover all the ammo in your mag. If you're doing a high magazine size weapon, this is just infinite ammo essentially without any downsides because you're probably going to be dashing before you run out of ammo. This can obviously make the Demon Lore infinite ammo if you're dashing enough. So Skateboarder in terms of ammo scrolls gets to be B tier. A little bit better than the stuff in C tier, but not effective enough to be like S or A tier for sure. Snow Boots. You're immune to all slows. There's a second half of this. Do you even need to? Does it even matter? Because you're already immune to all slows. S tier. You're immune to all slows, and you have minus 50% trap damage, which for me is huge because I stand in fire a lot. So being more immune to trap damage, but being fully immune to slows is S tier. Especially in higher levels, there's a lot of corrosive enemies. There's corrosive barrels. There's the octopus in the third area. A lot of things that can slow you down, and being immune to that is Pog. So Snow Boots get S tier for sure. Speedy Pursuit. When you dash, you get plus 50% lucky shot chance for 2 seconds after using your dash. Hello. This is gonna go into B tier. It's really good for lucky shot. It's a little above average. That's why I'm gonna put it not in C, but it's not nearly as effective enough to go on A tier. I mean, 50% lucky shot chance is nothing to scoff at, and you're gonna be dashing a lot. That's why I think it's B tier, but it's not quite good enough to notch it into that A slot, in my humble opinion. Next up, Spirit Feline. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Spirit Feline is plus 100% damage taken. But damage taken from each hit will not exceed 14% of your max health and shield. So essentially, you get like 6 hits before you die. No matter how much damage you are taking, you will not die until you get hit like 6 times, maybe even more. Spirit Feline's easy S tier. the higher difficulty, the better Spirit Feline gets. So in the higher reincarnation levels, Spirit Feline is just S tier. There's no doubt about it. There's not a scroll in the game better. Now you do have to be kind of careful. Rogue Arsonists can ruin your day. Annihilation Monks can absolutely just raw dog it in there, okay? It happened to me yesterday in the run. You guys probably saw it, or 2 days ago. Whenever that run was posted. So you have to be kind of careful. But outside of that, this makes you so well defensived that like you're not gonna die. You have like 3 or 4 enemies that can kill you. Outside of that, you are chilling with Spirit Feline. So Spirit Feline is nutty. Next up, Strategic Advantage. Plus 40% movement speed for 3 seconds after you dash. A tier movement scroll. You're going to be dashing a lot. 3 seconds, your next dash is almost cooled down already. If not, it's already cooled down. So 40% movement speed for the majority of the run is a lot of extra movement speed and super, super saucy. So easily going into the A tier is Strategic Advantage. This is unbelievable how long this video is. You guys better love this video. You better like and subscribe right now. Next up, we have Tactical Reload, which I'm gonna set it down. I'm not putting it in D tier. Okay, stop typing. I want to scroll so I can make sure I read this first. So Tactical Reload is when reloading, minus 20% damage taken and plus 30% movement speed. So they're gonna get B tier. Why? It has a movement speed buff. Already lit. Also has damage resistance. Cool. Now, obviously, if you have Advanced Depot or something where you're not reloading super often, then it's not going to be that great. But, you know, you got the movement speed. If you're reloading pretty often, it's nuts. Even if you're reloading kind of often, it's good. So it gets B tier. It's not good enough to go into A or S, but it's definitely better than some of the stuff in C. Next up, Terminal Lucidity, which is, hello, let me find it. Maybe not. God, how many purple scrolls are there? Jesus Christ. Oh, there it is. So you reset the cooldown of all your skills when you lose 20% max health or more in a single hit. I'm going to put it in C. I mean, resetting the skills completely is nice, but taking 20% of your max health in one hit doesn't happen super often, so it just doesn't affect the run nearly as often as some other stuff. So it's going to go into C tier, and it's going to stay right in C tier. Next up, Thorny Carapace. Every time you get, whenever an enemy hits you, you release a spike that deals corrosive damage to them. Damage is affected by your max shield/armor, max health, and your skill damage. So this can do a lot of damage, actually. And it causes corrosion, which any sort of extra elemental damage is nice. I'm going to put it in B tier. It's just a good source of passive damage. You don't have to do anything. It procs automatically every time you get hit. And like I said, it can do a decent amount of damage, actually, plus elemental damage, which is really nice. Next up, we have Thunder Screen. Whenever your shield breaks, you deal lightning damage to the surrounding enemy. The damage is affected by the max shield armor, max health, and your skill damage once again. B, again, another really good source of passive damage. There's very few reasons not to take it unless you just have better options, but it's just good passive damage. So next up, we have Thunder Step, which I know what it does, but let me make sure I can read it exactly here. After using your dash, a thunder is released and will cause damage to enemies and temporarily imprison them. Yeah, that's a lightning is released, not thunder. Thunder can't be released. That's a translation issue. That's fine. So it'll cause damage to enemies and it will stop them in their tracks. Actually, B tier. The amount of use I've gotten out of this is a lot more than I thought, and I didn't really notice it until recently. But Thunder Step can actually pop off temporarily, minimizing, like making sure an enemy can't do anything, attack or move, is really, really good. And it triggers every single time you dash. So with a little bit of dash synergy, this can pop off. So yeah. Triple Comeback, minus 50% health and shield, but you get 2 free revives. It's S tier. There's never a reason not to take this. You just get additional life to play with. It's not quite like having just 2 extra reses, but it's pretty close. Like you get a lot of extra uses out of that. So triple comeback easily an S tier scroll. Next up, we have Unfettered Will, which, let me get the numbers. Survey says. Maybe. Oh, there it is. Plus 3% weapon damage for every 100 copper you currently have, up to 30%. So if you have at least 1,000 copper, you're getting plus 30% weapon damage. C tier, it's okay. The damage increase is fine, but you're probably going to be spending a lot of copper, and 30% maxing out is frustrating. So it's a good damage increase, but it's not insane. So that's why it's going to stick in C tier. Next, we have Untold Effort, which is when you're using your secondary skill, 50% chance to double the consumption, but also and a 50% chance to deal double the damage. This is going to go B. It would go higher. This will easily make you run out of secondary skills, but the amount of damage you can get out of this is nuts, especially if you're doing Atomic Bomb, if you're doing a punching build on the new character, if you're doing a smoke grenade with the cat. This affects a lot of characters really well, but some characters not as much, and it'll make you run out so fast because the double consumption, I swear, procs like 70% of the time, not 50, but still worth it most of the time. So B tier, easy. Next up, we have Veteran, plus 1 max HP for every enemy you kill within 7 meters. I believe it's 7 meters. Let me just double check to make sure that's right. Yes, within 7 meters. It's A tier. There's no downside to it. This is going to be passively proccing throughout the run. Even if you're not just going all in and just rushing enemies and you're staying back, you'll still probably get some procs out of this. So it doesn't hurt to have. And extra health is always really nice. So A tier for sure for Veteran. Oh my god, we're almost on the last row. We can do this. We can push. Next up, Wait for Good. Every 10 seconds, the next shot will crit. F tier. I mean, it's kind of nice for explosions, but once every 10 seconds, that's not very often at all, and usually not worth it. You're probably doing enough damage anyway. So F tier for Wait for Good. Next, we have Wind Rider. Every 3 times you dash, you'll be immune to all damage for 1 second. It's B tier. I've actually had a lot of damage get mitigated by this, just by sheer accident, but you could probably plan it out to mitigate some solid damage anyway. So B tier for Wind Rider, and I think it's definitely worth it, and especially if you have dash synergy, absolutely worth, but even if you don't, still a very solid scroll. Next, we're getting into some of the, I think all of the new stuff here actually. So we have Elemental Magazine, which is deal an additional 50% damage when weapon damage causes an elemental effect. B tier, if you're doing an elemental run, it's really, really solid. If not, it's literally pointless. But if you were doing an elemental run, it's probably A tier. So we'll stick it in B and, kind of split the difference here. Next up, I forget what the name of this one is. Let's see if I can find it quickly. Enduring Caster. So you have plus 1% skill damage for every 5 total health, which is your health points, shield, and armor that you currently have. This is an A tier scroll. This is just going to give you a ton of skill damage for just having extra health, and it's so good. Not to mention, for those of you that don't know, skill damage, like explosive weapons, are affected by skill damage. The Tiger Cannon, the Shrieker, the Mortar. So extra skill damage means your explosive damage goes up, and this is a very good way to start stacking that damage. If you have this plus Veteran plus a Mortar, I mean, you're in business right there. That's all the damage you need. This is a really good new scroll that they added. Actually, a lot of them are good, but that's a really good one. Next up, we have, what is that? Fight for Immortality. Upon taking damage, you get additional max shield and armor for 12 seconds, equivalent to the damage received. So if you take a lot of damage, you're going to get a lot of shield and armor out of this. If not, you're going to get very little, and it takes 45 seconds to cool down, which is insane. So it's going to go C tier. I've used this a few times and never really been like, wow, I'm glad I had that. But it is useful. But sometimes you're just not going to get a lot of shield out of it, so it's like there could have been better scrolls that we could have gotten instead. So I'll put it in C tier with all the other average schmoes. Next up, hidden transaction. 33% chance to enhance a weapon by +1 extra level when enhancing your weapons at a craftsman. This is A tier. You can get a ton of extra upgrades out of this if you get it early enough. So you could have a weapon in the plus like 30s easily, even if you're solo. Like if you just get the right stuff going and get a little lucky, which means your damage output is going to be nuts. So A tier easily. Well, A tier for sure for hidden transaction. I think it's a really, really good scroll. Next up, we have, what's the name of this one? Overwhelming Shield. Shield recovery won't be interrupted when your shield is below 50%. I think it's C tier. I don't think it's that good. I mean, obviously, not having interruption on your shield recovery is nice, but it's not good enough to be like, wow, this is a must-have scroll, or like, I really need this. So I think it just belongs in C tier. I think it's good, but it's not great. Next up, we have Premium Membership. So whenever you spend copper, you get 30% of it back. Very strong B tier, almost an A tier scroll. Every time you're spending copper, you're spending 30% less. I mean, you're just going to get a lot more upgrades, a lot more purchases from the peddler, a lot of different things out of this. So definitely B tier, and just a really solid scroll to have. I actually don't think I've seen this since the update, which is weird. I've had a lot of playtime since the update, and I still don't think I've seen the scroll once. Interesting. Next up, Reasonable Luck, plus 80% lucky shot chance, but total lucky shot chance won't exceed 150. This one's actually difficult. I'm going to put it in B. If you get this early game, literally insane. Getting 80% lucky shot chance right away is nuts. But obviously, if it's later in the game, you probably have around 150% lucky shot chance anyway, so you're not getting much extra out of it, and it's not nearly as effective. But early game, this is insane, and you could get it and then sell it later if you start getting a lot of lucky shot chance. But it's just a good all-around scroll, and I think it deserves to be in the B tier with these other ones. Next up, Riches Privileges. Every time your skill deals damage, it will inflict additional skill damage based on how much copper you currently own. For each enemy, the additional skill damage occurs up to 1 time every 3 seconds. Once again, another B scroll. It's a really good way to get more skill damage, which is, I mean, a big part of a lot of different builds. So it's a really nice scroll to have. It's like Unfettered Will, but better, because there's no cap on the damage that you can do. So Riches Privileges is really nice. I've seen it a few times. I haven't had a great chance to test it, but on paper sounds really, really good. Spirit Bible is just 120% skill damage. A tier scroll. That's a huge amount of skill damage increase, and has made some atomic bomb runs or toxic smoke runs, or even the punching runs on the new character, just stupid damage numbers with that. So easily an A tier. Stone Skin, minus 30% damage taken for 3 seconds whenever you take damage. Another A tier scroll. Really, really good damage resistance scroll. It doesn't stack, but it's still really good in terms of making sure you have a lot of damage reduction pretty much every time you get hit. So 30% is nothing to shake a stick at either. So it's a really solid scroll to have. Nothing you need to do, super passive, and just lets you get a lot more damage reduction. Next up is Sucker Punch, I think is what it's called, right? Yeah, Sucker Punch. Plus 35% skill damage when your skill hits an enemy with more than 70% health. So obviously this is for like one-shotting enemies and stuff. It's C tier. It's okay. It's not great, but it's good. It's a solid scroll. That's why I'm gonna put it in C tier. I don't think it deserves to be with these ones, but it's probably like upper C tier. A little extra damage on high health enemies is good, and yeah, I'll leave it in C. Next up, final 3 scrolls. Jesus. Next up we have, what is this one called? Surprise bonus. Oh yes, this one, of course. 15% chance to double the damage dealt for any skill. this is going to go into A tier because obviously that's just dumb right away. So if we think about it, let's say you're doing an atomic bomb run. You get skill freak, which doubles your skill damage. You get surprise bonus, which gives you a chance to double your skill damage. And then you get untold effort, which is a chance to double your skill damage again. That's a stupid amount of skill damage you're doing. And obviously with atomic bomb specifically, you're stacking grenades. Like, the amount of damage output you're going to have is just mind-boggling. So easily an A tier for surprise bonus. It's literally insane. Next up, we have Terrific Crossfire. Minus 1% primary skill cooldown when you use your secondary skill. On paper, it sounds really good. I'm not a huge fan of it because I don't think... I mean, on the new character, it's probably really good, actually. But most of the time, I don't know. I just don't... I don't think I'm going to get a ton of use out of this. So it's probably like a B tier scroll, maybe higher. Let me know, those of you that enjoy it, what you think of it. But I think I'd put it in C, just because I don't think I'm going to get a ton of use out of it, except for on the new character. And yeah, I don't know. And the last scroll after this adventure of a video, Vindictive Nature, plus 40% weapon and skill damage for 10 seconds when you get hit or take damage. There's no cooldown to it. This is an A tier scroll. There's no... Hello. There's no way around it. Easily an A tier scroll. 40% is nuts. It's weapon and skill damage, and it lasts for 10 seconds. I mean, the fact that this is a normal scroll blows my mind. This feels like a legendary scroll with how it works. I don't think it's good enough to go on the S tier list, or on the S tier, but it's for sure an A tier. And yeah, that's it. That is the scroll tier list for Gunfire Reborn. Obviously, let me know your thoughts down below. Tier lists always spark some controversy, so let me know what you guys think. But golly, that was a lot of scrolls to go through. So let me know your thoughts. This was a fun video, but make sure, like always, check those links in the description. Hopefully you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all the support as always. I love each and every one of your faces, and I will catch you all in the next video.